how's it going? Hi, everybody. We're here. I'm rocking the fuggliest shirt I own. I'm here for that. Yeah, we're rocking our Katie Joy merch today. We like it. We're here for it. We're into it. No? This is the single ugliest long sleeve shirt that I own, and there's no other more appropriate day, I think, for it. Today we are going to be looking at the lawsuit of Steve McRae versus Catherine Mansky-Polson. I hope everybody's excited. I hope everybody's cool. I hope everybody's been having a good weekend. I hope this is going to be like indicative of a wonderful week starting soon for those of you who have Monday Fun Days coming up tomorrow. I hope you have your glasses of wine. I hope you have a snack. We've got Puck Cam behind us here. It's hanging out. I'm excited. We've got the whole shebang with us here. I recall last time when I was reading through the complaint for Todd Chrisley, people were like, yeah, but there's not really much receipts here. Well, don't you worry this time. I got them receipts. I got all of them. I'm excited. So, if everybody's ready, everybody's got their drinks, everybody's ready to go. Hello, welcome. All right. Looks like everybody's ready to go. I'm excited. All right. State of Minnesota, County of Wright, District Court, 10th I was not ready. Judicial District, case type civil-other. Stephen H. McRae, plaintiff, versus Catherine Mansky-Polson, defendant. No court filing number, no judge assigned because this has been pocket service. So pocket service, essentially, it's the same as Todd Chrisley's case. She's been served, but it hasn't been served through court yet, as it will give them time to potentially settle things outside of court. Complaint. Plaintiff Stephen H. McRae, plaintiff, for his causes of action against defendant Catherine Mansky-Polson. Let's turn this a little bit so you can see Puck a little easier. There you go. Defendant Catherine Mansky-Polson, defendant, state and allege the following. Introduction. This is an action for defamation brought by plaintiff against defendant who is a YouTube and social media content creator. I need to zoom this in for you guys. I'll zoom it in just a little bit. Let's make this a bit bigger. There you go. There you go. Should be a bit better. Plaintiff operates YouTube and social media accounts under his own name, the title of the Great Debate Community, and other pseudonyms. Defendant operates a YouTube channel titled Without a Crystal Ball and also operates numerous social media accounts under a similar username. Defendant took action in her personal capacity and through her various social media accounts to defame plaintiff and accuse him of harassment, fraud, and other loathsome conduct. We sipping that tea, that daily tea. Ooh. I've got green tea myself. I need it to calm my nerves. I'm kidding. It's a joke. In case people think I'm actually stressed out. People are gonna worry. That's no good. As a direct result of defendant's defamatory statements, plaintiff's reputation and standing in the community has irreparably harmed. The plaintiff has been irreparably harmed, and plaintiff has experienced significant mental distress and reduction in income. Other members of the community no longer will associate with plaintiff. As a direct and proximate result of defendant's defamation, plaintiff has suffered damages in an amount to be proven in trial, but reasonably believed to exceed $50,000. Parties and jurisdiction. Plaintiff Stephen H. McRae is an... I know. That's a lot of money. That's like higher than like a regular full-time job at minimum wage. I know. Plaintiff Stephen H. McRae is an individual residing in Riverside County, California. Defendant Catherine Mansky-Paulson is an individual residing in Wright County, Minnesota. The court has jurisdiction over this civil action pursuant to Minnesota Statute Paragraph 484.01. Venue is proper in this court pursuant to Minnesota Statute Paragraphs 542.09 and 542.01, or 542. Because defendant resides in Wright County and on information and belief, the events given rise to this action took place in Wright County. Background facts. Plaintiff operates and has contributed to YouTube and social media accounts including Non Sequitur Show, YouTube, Steve McRae, YouTube, and Great Debate Community, YouTube. Defendant operates or has operated a YouTube channel and numerous social media accounts, including Without a Crystal Ball, YouTube, at Without a Crystal Ball, official Twitter, WOA Crystal Ball Twitter, Katie Joy, WOACB Twitter, and Without a Crystal Ball Instagram. Plaintiff and defendant were co-hosts and contributors on the same YouTube channel. Beginning in June of 2019, defendant began accusing plaintiff of, among other things, harassment, fraud, abuse, and sexually harassing her. On June 12th, 2019, defendant tweeted the following statements through her public Twitter account. Quote, P.S. Elephant in the room, there is tax evasion going on here that someone fails to admit to. Next one is, which is fraud. He is legally hiding income from the government. Legally hiding income from the government? Does she mean illegally? I don't know. Hiding income from the government so that he can maintain disability. Steve's never been on disability. That's fraud. If you are making money through your work and not reporting it on your taxes, that's fraud. Frog. Steve never made any money off of Non Sequitur, by the way. Kyle stole it all. Welcome and thank you for becoming a conscript, Karen. I hope you enjoy your stay here and enjoy the emotes. Oh my god, Puck. You're just throwing your ball at me. What is this? Okay, look at this. He's just throwing it at me. Are you ready? Can you sit? Sit. High five. Good boy. Ready? What medical do you receive? Medical disability? Medical benefits? Who pays those benefits? I'm done. You are hiding income from either the government or a company. I'm asking Kyle to pay you. And asking Kyle to pay you under the table is fraud. Fraud is fraud. Screenshots of the defamatory statements are attached hereinto as Exhibit A. Oh look, Exhibit A. So shall we see to be sure that these are in fact the things that Katie Joy was saying. Screenshots! Katie Joy. P.S. Elephant in the room. There is tax evasion going on here that someone fails to admit to. Miss Engineer, aka Caitlin Chloe, aka GE's wife. Actually, Steve did admit to not wanting to take the money Kyle offered to send him until Kyle could physically pay him cash. That's in Red's Hangout. No, it isn't. That was Steve wanting to see the books because he wasn't just gonna take whatever fucking crumbs Kyle decided to give him without knowing how much money he was actually owed. You know, like somebody with 2 fucking brain cells. Inkboy, member for 15 months, says, I am legally avoiding fines by obeying the law. Good job. Caitlin Chloe, for those of you who do not know, is Godless Engineer's wife, a relatively large YouTuber within the sphere of atheist YouTubers, also worked on Non Sequitur Show as a co-host and friend of Kyle that Kyle brought on. She was supposed to work with him on the show called Tastecraft that never got off the ground and never went anywhere. Nobody was very impressed with her behavior. She later then tried to say she never actually made any of these accusations, to which a bunch of people responded with a bunch of these tweets. Needless to say, it didn't go well for her. She is very much into word policing to the point where it's actually a detriment to proceedings going on that actually have, well, there's no collusion, we'll put it that way. Katie Joy, which is fraud. He is legally hiding income from the government so that he can maintain disability. That's fraud. If you are making money through your work and not reporting it in your taxes, that's fraud. I'm done. You're hiding income either from the government or a company, and asking Kyle to pay you under the table is fraud. Nobody asked. Didn't happen. What medical do you receive? Medical disability, medical benefits. Who pays those bills? Fraud is fraud. And as you can see, at Steve. Right? All right. Defendant's accusations of fraud and tax evasion were about plaintiff and were published to the public. Sock accounts are social media accounts operated under a false identity, often used to praise or agitate other individuals. Social media communities detest and ridicule individuals who use or are accused of using sock accounts. On December 18th, 2019, defendant tweeted from her public Twitter account, quote, "Don't engage with trolls. Steve has a pack of people with dozens of sock accounts. Their talking points are that I'm a liar and then use any method to incite a reason from you." I think that was supposed to say reaction, but hey, you know, whatever, what do I know? "Steve is exposed and desperate now. Block those that sound ridiculous," end quote. A screenshot of the defamatory statement is attached here to as Exhibit B. Boop-a-doo. "Don't engage with the trolls. Steve has a pack of people with dozens of sock accounts. Their talking points are that I am a liar and then using any method to incite a reaction." Yeah, so there was an error there. It says reaction. "From you. Steve is exposed and desperate now. Block those that sound ridiculous." Imagine taking Katie's advice and ending up blocking Katie because she sounds ridiculous. Who'd have thought? On or about December 21st, 2019, in a live chat through Periscope on Twitter, defendant wrote, "My child was abused by Steve." A screenshot of the defamatory statement is attached herein to Exhibit C. Did she really say that? Oh. Awkward. Careful, Katie, you might sound ridiculous and you might get blocked. To plaintiff's knowledge, he has not been in the same state as defendant or her child and has never met defendant or her child in person. On January 18th, 2020, defendant tweeted, quote, "Steve admits he didn't want the money because he was on F security and wanted Kyle to pay him in cash. So he wanted to hide the money, question mark? A screenshot of the defamatory statement is attached herein as Exhibit D. Steve admits he didn't want the money because he was on Social Security and wanted Kyle to pay him cash. So he wanted to hide the money, question mark? Do you guys want to see this? Do you want to see what Steve actually said? Because I've actually gone over this. I have another video. I'll link it in the description down below if you're interested to see what Steve actually said. Because I spent some time going through this again a while ago. So I'll put the link in the description for those of you who are interested. If you decide in the chat, is that a one for yes? One for yes if you want me to go find this and play it for you. Okay. All right. I see how it is. Let's pull this up. Let's pull this puppy up. See, view my playlist over here. Here it is.
To have forced your hand on this.
Hey, there's me sitting on the floor. So let's see. Hey, the timestamp's already right and everything. Here is in the well, I mean, Meemaw says, this does not seem like KJ's business, nosy bitch. Well, you know, she had to defend her friend Kyle as he tried to steal the show. You know, her and Casey and, you know, other people that were part of the Non Sequitur show and were co-hosts may have had a vested interest in Kyle's success over Steve, perhaps. Maybe. All right. Let's play this for you guys. Let's see what's actually said.
That much of an option. Okay, I'm gonna mute up.
All right, mute up, guys. Mute up. Shannon, we're getting some background noise from you.
Hi.
Why is there? Is anyone else getting an echo? Or is it just me?
I don't think so.
Okay, it's just me. Anyway, Shannon, I told everyone here to shut the fuck up. The floor is all yours.
I'm like vibrating right now. I was on the phone with Kyle, who was really upset. As far as I know, he didn't get a link or an invite to go to this.
So, a little bit of context. The talking about Kyle not getting a link or whatever, this stream happened directly after the death of the Non Sequitur show. So that death of the Non Sequitur show happened. That call happened. If you want to view that, I did a full review of that. There is also a whole... That whole video exists, so you can go and watch that with my commentary or without my commentary. If you're interested, I'll put a link for that as well in the chat. But that's just the context of Kyle just told Steve, fuck you, sue me. And he's very upset about it. He's very upset about kicking Boole and Steve off the show. So let's take a look and see what Steve actually said about being paid.
This just happened, and now we're live. Without him here, or any of the other hosts, what's the reason for that, if not to control a narrative that could be dealt with amongst the people involved?
Do you want me to answer that question?
I could answer that. I prefer if I did.
Go ahead.
We invited Kyle. He basically said, if that's what you're going, if you're going to go have a discussion with this, screw you guys. And he removed us from the Non Sequitur show.
And I also said at the very beginning, middle, and as of right now, that Kyle is not blocked on anything. And if he wants the link, he can. But I'm not going to blow up his phone to get him into a hangout that he doesn't want to participate in the first place. That's not my place to make that assumption. Now, hang on, Steve. So, Shannon, my question to you, does Kyle want the link? And if so, I will give it to him right now.
He very well may. I got off the phone with him because he's upset. Because I didn't know this was happening either.
Mm-hmm.
I tweeted it to you.
Until I haven't been on Twitter. I've been taking a break
but I did
from Twitter for the evening because this whole NIFB stuff is starting to I'm exhausted.
For anybody who doesn't know who Shannon is, Shannon was, I don't know, Katie Joy, one of Katie Joy's good friends, fellow co-host. So, you know, I don't know what Shannon's thoughts are on Katie in regards to her ongoing problematic behavior, because her friend Shannon has never actually said anything about it or spoken out against it.
Oh shit, the thing in Orlando.
I'm utterly exhausted, but this seemed important.
Yeah.
Because people are slandering something that's important to me. I care about all of the people involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate the petty, who's gonna go after who? Let's send our audiences after this person and get them all riled up. Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not
Which is what is happening right now. We're like, let's get an audience.
Oh, she mad. Oh, she big mad.
Riled up so that we can send them after this person because they're on my side.
Steve?
Well, that's what Kyle seems to be influenced by.
He's not live right now.
He could have been. He could have been here.
No, but he's not.
Okay.
Hang on.
So Shannon was not in the Death of the Non Sequitur show call, so she only has Kyle's word that she's going off right now. And what she is unaware of is that during the Death of the Non Sequitur show call, if you care to listen to it yourselves, Kyle said, let's get the court of public opinion. He said, go live with this information. Go ahead. So sue me. It sounds like Shannon's not too happy with Kyle's decision.
Kyle.
Hey, but Shannon.
God damn it! I called you Kyle.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm getting confused.
And we're
because
talking
people-
about money. We're having a public conversation about the money that happens in the channel.
Yes.
Shannon, let me try to.
I don't get, for the record, I get $0.00 from non-sec, and I'm a co-host too. Zero.
So there's something interesting here. Shannon seems to think that she's on the same level as Steve as a co-owner, but yeah, no, sweetheart, no.
$0.00.
Yeah, but when Kyle said when he brings people on, they're not going to get anything out of it.
Does he not have any money set aside for you, Steve?
I have no idea. He says he does.
You don't?
No, I have no idea. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the financials. He won't show me the financials.
Oh, okay. Because if he sends you money right now, will that solve this problem?
No, because we agreed that
because I just had a conversation with you, and he said that with him, I'm sorry. He said he's been holding on to that money, and I know the reason he's been holding on to that money, and I'm not going to release that reason publicly because it would affect you, Steve.
No, the reason why is because
the hero that nobody asked for.
I have medical, and to get a lump sum would change that, which is fine. Okay, I know the reasons. I've expressed it. I've said this many times on air. But Shannon, here's the thing: the show was supposed to be in perpetuity, all proceeds in perpetuity, 50-50 down the line. He agreed with that. He told Reds that just a while ago. You know that, right?
I don't know what he said to Red's rhetoric. I'm not in private conversations.
Okay, well, you weren't here earlier. He has said this to us.
Didn't she say she just got off the phone in a private conversation with Kyle and that she knew privately what was going on with Steve and him wanting to know information about what he had options with his medical, that you just said you weren't going to tell anybody? So how could you possibly immediately then say you weren't in private conversations at all? What?
Okay.
No, I was talking to Kyle because he's upset.
Kyle.
Everybody's got to protect Kyle. Look out for Kyle. You got to have Shannon coming in here fighting for Kyle.
Kyle has said that when we started this channel, it was 50% in perpetuity. Now he wants to take me off that. He doesn't.
So I don't know if you guys heard, but the cash part that we're focusing on right now, this admits that he didn't want money because he was on Social Security and wanted Kyle to pay him in cash. When Shannon was like, "Hey, he sends you money right now, would you accept it? Would that solve the problem?" He said, "No, it wouldn't solve the problem. I need to see the books." And there was no mention of Social Security.
He wants me to have the proceeds in perpetuity. What he wants me to have is only for like 4 days a week that he's relegating me down to. That's not how it works. He wants to take all the Teespring. He wants to take all the Patreon. He wants to take everything else but the 4 days that I do and get all the money from that. I don't think that's fair. I think that's slimy. I think that's underhanded. And I don't understand why. And I asked him, please think about this, what you think you're doing, because you are taking money out of my pocket that we had on a handshake. And the fact that I told my daughter, you will have something to have because this channel, the proceeds of anything happened to me, go to you. And I have my daughter and my daughter's mom has Kyle's information of how to get that money in perpetuity. That's what I relied on. That's what he's trying to cut me out of, Shannon. How is that fair?
Oh, but Kyle's upset. Steve, please. Kyle is upset that you're not just letting him steal from you.
Are you on the show? Go ahead, Reds.
There was an original agreement, and the original agreement was that Steve McRae would get 50.
So great question from Karen Bluebird in the chat. So I've actually gone over one of the episodes that Katie Joy was on. She did a regular show on the Non Sequitur show called The Smoking Nun with Kyle. Now, she never was on the show very often with Steve, and Steve had nothing to do with The Smoking Nun. So yes, she was a regular co-host on a show on the channel, if that makes sense.
50%. Now, Steve McRae has offered to come on more if Kyle thinks that he's not doing enough. And by the way, I can vouch for Steve because Steve has messaged me over and over and over again.
Yeah, no, you're right. Steve should get 50% of the work that I do, and 50% of the work that GE does, and 50% of the work that Katie does.
Apparently, Shannon just likes to throw out arbitrary, we're going to change how a company or how a business partnership works because she agreed to work for no money and volunteer because it was beneficial to her. You see what's happened, this shift that's happening with what Shannon's saying? Yes, we do get to the point where Shannon does ask about Social Security. That's why we're still going. You are correct.
Shannon.
You're right.
Shannon.
No, you're right.
Shannon.
That's right. I have
Shannon.
a son too, and I'm a single
Shannon.
mom. So
Shannon.
that's fair, right?
Shannon. Okay, I'm only going to...
So instead of the 50-50 agreement that Kyle and Steve had, when Kyle brought you on and didn't make a deal with you for money, Steve's the one who ought to get screwed over. And so not only does Steve not get his agreed upon 50%, but also Kyle gets 100% of all the work you do, and all the work GE does, and all the work KC does, and all the work Boole does, and all the work Steve does. Does that sound fair, Shannon? If you want to renegotiate your position within a company, considering you had such a problem with money being discussed initially, right, you had a big problem with that. You had a big problem with that. It's interesting that you're totally fine with bringing up your position as if you are remotely close to the same position that Steve and Kyle are in together. All right. Ash Scott says it almost makes you wonder if Katie knew about Kyle's planned hostile takeover before Steve did, and the sexual harassment thing was her way of trying to help him do that. There was no collusion. And I'll take a look at Helios's notes here. Helios said they also like to twist when Steve said that the lump sum would cause him to lose medical as insurance fraud when that isn't. Very good point. As a single lump sum, it would be like going from a $0.00 income to a $30K per paycheck job, which is a lot different than what his actual income would be. Correct. It is not a matter of fraud in that case.
Say this one, Shannon. I love you with all my heart, but do not interrupt me. I told everyone here to not interrupt you. You will show everyone, including me, the same respect. Otherwise, you can get out. I'm now going to continue and finish what I was saying. So when it comes to this, there was an original agreement. That original agreement, Shannon, was not with you, but it was with Steve. And Kyle admitted to this. Kyle has said this. Throughout the time that non sequitur has been, that agreement has been, not followed by Kyle. That is objectively not fair. When you have an agreement with someone, you are to hold to it until you discuss it with them, not go behind their back and change it without them having any knowledge of it. That is shady business. And on top of that, Kyle has done a lot of work for the Non Sequitur show, but Steve McRae has been asking to do more. Steve McRae has been asking to come on more often. I even said that I will not do another Flat Earth hangout on the Non Sequitur show unless Steve is co-hosting. In fact, that was one of the main things that I told Kyle tonight that got tonight's show canceled, because it would mean that Steve would have to be on there.
Right.
And I even have text messages, which I will not read, that also confirm what I'm saying. So when it comes to this, yes, you don't get any money for Non Sequitur show. You come on willing. I don't get any money from Non Sequitur, even though I'm willing. Fight the Flat Earth doesn't get any money from Non Sequitur, even though he's willing. The reason why that's okay is because the agreement wasn't made with us. The agreement wasn't made that, oh yeah, we're going to split the proceeds with whoever decides to show up that day. Just the idea that we would even pay a Flat Earther to show up would make me sick to my fucking stomach. And I would not support something like that.
Fun fact. G-Man got paid more for showing up on Non Sequitur show than Steve has to this day. Huzzah.
But that type of agreement was indeed made to Steve. And that agreement is something that even Kyle acknowledges. And Kyle even acknowledges that he has done shit without informing Steve. Shannon, do you think that is fair?
All right. So, I'm calming myself down because I really don't want to yell back and forth with you, Reds. I understand why
you don't want to yell back and forth while you're the only one yelling.
tone with me because I did interrupt you, but I would like to think that you and I have enough mutual respect for each other that you know you can talk to me calmly and that I'll respect it.
I apologize for raising my voice.
It's fine. I understand. It's okay.
Okay.
This is a contentious situation. So
Mhm.
I understand that. We're
Thank
good.
you for accepting my apology.
Absolutely. I'm not unreasonable. I'm just sometimes vivacious. So here's the thing. You said a couple of things there, and I don't know the full situation, but one of the things that you said was it should be that way until you have a discussion. And it sounds as though there was a discussion today, which is essentially a renegotiation of contract, and that
Nope.
that money is in fact set aside.
I don't accept the renegotiation of contract.
It doesn't work that way if you're essentially employed by somebody.
He's not employing me.
Steve was not employed by Kyle. Was never the case. Never would be the case. Never was the case. They had a business partnership. And the fact that Shannon didn't know that confuses me. I'm not sure how she could have managed to not know that. Helios also said, going on about the money medical stuff, that's why he needed the books, and can't just take a lump sum paycheck with nothing to show what his actual income per pay period as owner. It would be a quarterly income. Yes.
This is 50-50. How's he does? I don't work for Kyle. He doesn't work for me. This was a joint venture that we had.
Okay, so Red, your point is mute then. Like that's a moot point. All of the points you made are moot because essentially Steve is in charge and Steve decides.
No.
No, not even close.
Oh, no, that's not
I
what
didn't
was
get that
said.
or what I just said.
So, well,
I don't have to
that's
accept you.
essentially what you said then, but you
No, I
said
said I
you
don't
you don't accept a severance of the business partnership with 50% of it given to you at the point of severance.
He's not involved in the business.
Shannon seems to think that it's okay for Kyle to unilaterally make business decisions in a joint partnership.
No, but no, I said a business partnership. That means that you're not partners in the business anymore. If you don't accept a severance of business partnership where he gives you 50% of the proceeds up to that point.
You don't just arbitrarily say, I from now on, I built this channel with somebody else and I'm going to get all the proceeds in perpetuity and kick the other person out. That's not how any business would work, Shannon.
But it's not simply just you, Steve. You need to somewhat acknowledge that other people have contributed to this.
Correct. But hang on,
They're
Steve.
not in the negotiation of the finances, Shannon. I asked Kyle, if you want to bring these people on because you're friends, I'm not going to stop you, but you're not going to give them anything out of the
Steve, I'm your friend too, but what I really don't like is public litigation of things that could be happening personally and privately.
Then take your issue up with Kyle, who is the one who demanded that this go to the court of public opinion and put Wool and Steve in a position where they had no other choice.
I think this needs to be public.
Wait a minute, Steve. I'm gonna hang it. No. Everyone gavel. I want to make sure that this goes, but I just want to highlight a key word that Steve was using, and that was perpetuity.
Mm-hmm.
That was the original agreement.
Yep.
Now, the original agreement in perpetuity means going forward. Am I wrong, or am I losing my mind here? Which I think I am.
That is in fact what perpetuity means, but I have no idea what their original agreement was.
Well.
Then why are you arguing it? If you have no idea.
The original agreement, and here's the thing, Kyle knows that we have this. Kyle even said that's perfectly fine. You can have it. It was said in the original. There is a recorded conversation about this, Shannon, which I am strictly not going to play here because fuck that. However, Shannon, if you want this, and of course with Kyle's blessing, we will give you that recording so you can listen to it in full, no cuts, and you can hear Kyle accept that was the original agreement, and that agreement was changed long before this discussion ever took place. And by the way, the discussion that happened with Kyle previously was not to renegotiate terms. It was to ask Kyle why he was doing things behind Steve's back.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, but Shannon could. That's
that's
doesn't need to
me.
do that. All Shannon has to do is, Kyle's not going to lie about it. Shannon has to say, "Did you agree to Steve for all proceeds would be 50-50 in perpetuity?" Kyle's going to say yes.
There is a recording of Kyle also saying yes. So even if he lied, we've got him on record.
Yeah. Also, Chess, go ahead.
Before you do, Chess, I just wanted to point out, you had mentioned, Shannon, that like you'd said, oh, this is something that's just happened and then suddenly it's gone public. And I want to point out that that's not the case. Like behind the scenes, this has been being dealt with for several months.
Yeah.
And
I do not know how I knew that this was going on for several months, and Shannon, who was part of the show, is apparently oblivious to it.
And very patiently with no progress and actually just the situation worsening. And that's why it's come to this point.
What do you mean with no progress and the situation worsening? Those are very vague, ambiguous statements that allow you to set up a groundwork without having to be specific.
Have you noticed that this whole time from the get-go, Shannon has been trying to lay the groundwork that the people in this call are being dishonest? Look, I'm face palming. I know.
By saying that, it means there has been no progression to a mutual resolution.
Yeah. And there has been an attempt.
There was a conflict that wasn't able to be resolved.
Yes.
That's correct.
So there was a conflict, it wasn't able to be resolved, and it led to an end in a partnership.
Well, we don't know.
And because that conflict wasn't able to be resolved and it led to an end in a partnership,
Well, hang on, guys.
now we're having...
Hang on, guys. Do not interrupt Shannon, please.
All right. Do
not interrupt Shannon. And I'm going to give Shannon the floor. I want none of you guys to interrupt her. And then after that, I want Chess to go. So, Shannon, you have the floor. Sorry for the interruption.
That's fine. I appreciate that. It sounds to me like you're saying that there was conflict and that conflict wasn't able to be resolved and it led to an end in a partnership. And as a result of that partnership ending, Kyle has said, I have 50% of the money up until this point, as I promised you. I will give you that 50% of the money. Steve, because of his situation with getting government assistance, isn't able to accept it in a lump sum. Thus, he won't accept it in a lump sum. I'm sure that they could work something out there where he can get it in increments instead. Because Kyle would have had to claim tax on that money as he's holding it as well. So he would have paid tax on that up until this point.
Maybe.
And then now that partnership is dissolved.
No.
But because that partnership is dissolved, there was an original agreement before the channel got to the point that it is now, and that conflict took place. And Steve would like money from the channel in perpetuity because prior to this conflict taking place, when the channel just started, when it was originally just a podcast, they had agreed to 50-50 in perpetuity. And thus Kyle should be giving him money in perpetuity, whether Steve is or is not involved, just giving him money.
All right, Chess.
I don't need it. Do you guys want to hear what I had? I'm just gonna keep playing it. We won't go too far. We're not gonna watch all of this, but I do want to get to the Social Security bit.
You have the floor.
So back to kind of what we were discussing with where the show is going, because I think this is going to be going in circles for a little bit. So I just kind of want to shift gears slightly to something that Shannon had said earlier about having other people being brought onto the show, like Shannon's involved now and GE's involved now, and they're without a crystal ball, and everybody's involved now. So the problem with that is that none of you guys, and this is not a slight on you or anything, were involved in the contract or any kind of contract with the show. Had you guys wanted to be involved monetarily, then there needed to be an agreement and a discussion made between you guys, who would be at that point then employees of Non Sequitur, which would then need to be discussed with the producers of the show, which would include Steve and Kyle. If Kyle just brings you on alone, that's not you getting anything from Non Sequitur, because Non Sequitur is still both of them.
Can I respond to that?
Sure you can, but first I'm going to say something else because I want to make sure that this point isn't missed. You cannot dissolve a company or a partnership or whatever the case may be without the other person agreeing to it, because otherwise it's like, hey,
Beeves, I have the floor on the actual floor. Yes, this was while I was moving, and so because I had arrived at my new living abode without my stuff. My stuff had not arrived yet, so I was actually asleep, and I got a message from Steve being like, I need you in here now, please. So I got up and I was just like, wait.
I don't like you anymore for whatever reason. I want to kick you out of the company. I'll pay you up until this point, and then you get the hell out of Dodge. That's not how any of this works. One person that owns 50% cannot dissolve a partnership without the second party agreeing. That's something Thomas Miller said in a live chat, and I completely agree. What Kyle seems to be doing is basically forcefully taking over command of the entire non sequitur, even though it was agreed to be 50-50 at the very beginning in perpetuity. So basically, Kyle made this decision without consulting Steve or David for that matter, went along with it. And when we got to Kyle, when we asked Kyle about this, his responses were not very good. Let me just say that. He even admitted to some of the things that we were calling him out on. And he also admitted to all the things that Steve is saying was the original agreement. That original agreement was not with us. So if that is the case, and if Kyle felt as though he was overwhelmed and wanted Steve to do more of the heavy lifting of the show, we were just in a call not too long ago where Steve offered to do just that. If Steve had to work harder to quote earn his 50% as per the original agreement, he would have done it, because Steve is not a dick like that. He's a dick in other ways, but not like that.
Screw anybody over financially, ever.
So with that being said, Steve, I want you to talk, and then we're going to bring it back to Shannon.
Yeah, people ask
I
me.
have my hand raised.
I started the Non Sequitur YouTube channel. Kyle admitted that was my channel. I turned it over to him. I gave him primary, which means I relinquished control it to him because he knew SEO, and he said he would know how to do the ranking, right? So I gave that up to him. I think that he should give it back to me. If he wants to dissolve the partnership, have him give him back the channel. He's more than capable of starting a new channel. He has got the talent to do it. And then I told him, and Red backed me up on this. Did I tell him in perpetuity from the Non Sequitur show, he would get 50% from all proceeds, and I'd make sure that he got it in forever. So he would have his own channel, like I have my channel, and he would still get 50% from everything that the Non Sequitur show channel made.
He just offered 50% forever to somebody that no longer had to be involved in the channel whatsoever, to the guy that stole from him. Steve, it's too nice.
If that's what he wants to do. But you can't just arbitrarily say, hey, I'm taking you out of all this, and I'm taking over all the money from here on out that we helped build a channel for. That's not how anything works.
In short, you wouldn't accept a forced payout. Yes. And you also said that if Kyle was feeling overwhelmed, that you could take over for a few, and Kyle would still get his 50% regardless if he was working on it or not. You did say that. Yes.
Yeah, I have had somebody actually offered me. They said, hey, Steve, I can make the thumbs for you if you want. If Kyle wants to take some time off because he's got some stuff going on that you know about, Shannon, I'm sure, he's more than welcome to.
Yes.
Yeah, we've offered that. That's why I haven't dealt with this. That's why I haven't said anything for quite a while. But when it's come to the point where he's having to basically not communicate with me and do something like this to try to influence me, to try to not have me get what I'm due for in perpetuity, I have to take matters into my own hands. I have to do something. I've been very patient for several months now. Several months, Shannon. Mm-hmm. Okay. There's nothing else I can do. And by the way, do you agree, Shannon? And please be honest. You're the most honest people I know, right? So
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
You may not like it, but I'll be honest.
That's fine. Do you think, okay, as a partner, back in 2017 to now, when I've asked for financial records, should I have not been provided them almost immediately?
If you were asked for financial records, you should have been provided them. Yes.
And do you think that I should have been removed from Patreon? Because I believe I thought I started the Patreon too, but I'm not positive. I think he just started his Twitter, but I was moved from Patreon months ago. I was moved a month ago.
You're gone.
non sequitur access. Now I'm moved completely. He took me off the Twitter months ago. This has not been something that has happened recently. These are something that progressive. Months ago, this has been going on, Shannon. And I've continued to ask for financials, and I've not gotten any. So there's much more.
You cut out for me. It could be my phone is the reason that you cut out.
Repeat, Steve.
I said that it's been months ago. He removed my access to the Patreon. Right, so I can't even tell what a Patreon was. He removed my access from the Twitter. This is again months ago. He removed my access from the Non Sequitur show about a month ago. David and I have been asking him what's going on. You know, he said he told me it's for SEO reasons. That's what he told me. That's what he told David. That's what he told other people. I don't think I'm sorry, but I don't think I could believe that now, because
that could be the case. I mean, I'm not going to speculate on what his reasons were for that. If he gave you reasons, those could be valid reasons.
It could be. It could be. However, Dave got his access back within days. I never did. And Dave kept reminding him to do it, and he would, and nothing. So this has been going on for quite some time.
When it's my turn, I'm going to say some things that are maybe hard for you to hear, but I say them as your friend. So let me know when you're done.
Yeah, no, you go ahead.
All right, everyone, please mute. Shannon, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rez. Okay, Steve. So there are some things that I think you need to understand and potentially accept. One of those things is the fact that it has become, for me, I know this personally, difficult for me to book guests on Non Sequitur on the show that Kyle and I host that you are not even present for, because the show is affiliated with you and you have engaged in some very, 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 very public, very contentious arguments that have affected people.
You know, it's really interesting for somebody who hangs out on the line, which is Jimmy Snow's channel. It's really interesting who somebody was very good friends with during the Non Sequitur show and during this time, was such buddies with Katie Joy, and then hasn't sent or said a single word about their friend's behavior. Gretchen says, you guys are just the nerds that people are still trying to take down and mock even though high school is over. Yeah, a little bit, maybe. Awkward. We should be getting close to the time frame, though, hopefully, with any luck.
So I'm not going to list the names of some of the people that I had a difficult time booking, but there are people that have flat out refused.
Oh no, people don't want to come on my show because of King Steve and Twitter. Oh no, people don't want to go on my show because I'm associated with fucking garbage doxing motherfuckers. Oh no, like, you know, people Shannon associates, no. You know, as somebody who actually went through and watched the first episode of The Smoking Nun and then watched the second episode of Ad Homies, to see if what Shannon said here was true. If it was Steve that was wrecking the show. If it was Steve that was making things more difficult. I would recommend you guys take a look at those videos because, spoilers, it's not Steve ruining this.
To come on the show, because that show is affiliated with Steve McRae. I myself have taken slings and arrows because you are a friend of mine, and I refused to throw you under the bus or throw Non-Sec under the bus, despite me ardently disagreeing with the things that you say sometimes, because of the manner in which you can conduct yourself sometimes in public and the arguments that you choose to engage in. And that is a direct detriment to booking guests on and garnering viewers for the show.
Okay, my turn, and Shannon, this is going to be very hard for you to hear. It's not your show. It's not for your job to book anybody. The bookings were done by me and Kyle. I have people that wouldn't come on because of other guests that are on Non Sequitur show. I have people that won't come on, and I'm not going to say names because of people that Kyle on has co-host. Okay, I have a very difficult time booking people as well. Okay, and I have people that I have booked that want to come on that Kyle says, no, we're taking a different direction. I never responded to them. It's not your job to get books. You have your show on your channel, right? That you.
Side note, by the way, the fuck does that have to do with the efficacy of Kyle being able to make unilateral decisions about kicking Steve off the show in a 50-50 business partnership.
Simulcast that Dave does, simulcast to the Non Sequitur show. That's your show that has been simulcast. You can choose not to simulcast it to the Non Sequitur show. That's not the Non Sequitur show. That is your Q&A show on the Non Sequitur show channel.
Absolutely.
Let me finish. You booking guest is for your show. And if David or Kyle wants to put it on the Non Sequitur show, that's fine. But you cannot use that as an excuse. How I am with certain people that don't get along with me, right? Because I have detractors.
Mhm.
That's a fucked up reason, Shannon. I love you to death, but what you just said is absolute bullshit. I mean, let's be honest here,
Okay.
Shannon. You are not the one who's booking for Non Sequitur.
I've got my hand up on the side.
You're booking for your own channel. Come
Right.
on.
Yeah. No, Steve, I was using myself as an example because I could give a personal story, but it's not simply me. Like, you know that there's been people that have publicly said, I will never.
And I don't
will
want those people on the channel.
never.
So what?
Steve.
But I understand that you don't want those people on the channel, and that your attitude is, so what, fuck them, they're stupid, they can fuck off. I got in an argument with them, they acted like an asshole, they were stupid, they were idiots, I was right, they were wrong, they can go fuck themselves. That I'm Steve McRae, but that's not necessarily conducive to having a successful
She's not understanding. That's not up to you, Shannon. It is not your channel.
show when you want to have people with contrary opinions or people that are publicly accessible on to draw an audience. And when that's what you do, if you consistently alienate people who are public figures, or
You mean like Jimmy or Matt Dillahunty? Is that who you mean? Again, what does any of this have to do with Kyle unilaterally kicked me off the show in a 50-50 partnership, will not show me the books, and told me to sue me?
alienate subsections of people
Wow.
from you individually. Steve, I know this is hard to hear.
No,
and
it's wrong, Shannon.
No, hang on, Steve. Do not say another word until Shannon is done, and then afterwards, Chess is going to talk.
Steve, I understand. I really do. And I've been blocked by chains and chains and chains of people because I said Steve McRae is my friend. And I will
I've actually got Shannon blocked, and the reason I have Shannon blocked, the first time I blocked Shannon was because I didn't want to get in unnecessary arguments with her. It was just because we disagree, we don't mesh very well, and that was it. Then I blocked her because she's promoting people like Jimmy Snow and Nate Brody and, you know, really, really shitty people like the one guy who tried to say we murdered Boole. That guy.
still say after today that Steve McRae is my friend. But because you're my friend, I'm telling you the
don't
truth.
deserve to say that after this day.
Steve. That is a fact of the
In my
matter.
opinion.
Those things happen. And that can be a detriment. And I don't know what Kyle's motivations are. I don't know the background of everything that happened. But I know that I can give you a list
Money and ego. You're welcome.
of people who will never appear on that show. And it's not a short list because they have gotten in an argument with you.
All right. Chess, you have
I mean, if it's all those list of people she hangs out with now, good. Who wouldn't want them on the show anyway?
the floor.
Cool. So there's a couple things that I want to address real quick about what Shannon's saying. And I'm apologize if this sounds a little harsh. It's not meant to be, but all of this is emotional argument. Every single bit of what you've said has been an emotional argument. If people don't want to come on the show because of Steve, fine. I understand what you're saying about that. People don't want to come on the show, and that makes for bad PR, or it doesn't make for a good show. But you know what doesn't make for a good show? Flat Earthers not showing up on the show every single time. Them saying they're coming and then they're not coming and the show just drops. The show being inconsistent, having worse quality of guests. And that is what is consistently, factually, what has been happening. And I'm really sorry that people aren't going to be friends with you or are going to block you on Twitter Who gives a shit about Twitter?
Mhm.
Thirdly, I want to point out this real quick, and I do not mean to assume, I'm not going to assume what you're trying to do, but if you're simulcasting your own show on Non Sequitur, what you're doing is you're using the Non Sequitur name to boost yourself. Period. That is it. End of the line. I'm done.
All right, and one more thing, guys. I'm going to increase the slow mode to 60 seconds because holy fucking shit. And secondly, I'll go ahead and respond to something here. A lot of people have gotten into arguments with.
I'm going to see if I can check the transcript here just so we can jump forward a little bit because I don't really care about people getting in arguments with Steve. So let's search social security. Here we go. Da, da, da. Let's jump to here. There we go.
Chat, family. I consider the Patreons family. These are people that are my friends. These are people that respect their opinion. We talk to them, right? We have a huge following that like both when I'm on and Kyle on, sometimes it's Kyle, sometimes me. You can't please everybody, right? Okay, but we build it to be that way, Shannon.
Yeah. Also, let me just read something from the chat that I think speaks volumes. Maybe Steve McRae would do more for the show if he got paid in all caps. He has to do other channels to make the fucking money. I was a patron to support Kyle and Steve in all caps. So,
Steve, did Kyle give you the opportunity to have money, but you weren't able to take it because you were on Social Security or veterans pension, and it would have affected that? And Kyle didn't. Because you're making it seem as though Kyle withheld money from you.
No.
When
So if I look really quick at Steve's channel, I'll show you real quick from his last stream from, I believe, yesterday. Let's just take a look-see real quick, real quick right here where Shannon's trying to say that Kyle is not withholding money from Steve, right? That's what she's saying? Steve, you're making it sound like Kyle's doing that. So at the end of this stream right here, you see this number?
Actually, I think most Christians.
You see this number right here? That's counting how long it's been since people like Shannon said that Kyle was going to pay Steve, and Steve has not been paid. So, why are you making a big deal about not getting paid, Steve? Why are you trying to make it sound like Kyle's not paying you? 879 days, 18 hours, 26 minutes, and 54 seconds.
Very clear. Kyle said he would talk to me how it could be distributed. I asked him, okay, that's fine. Let's talk about how you're going to get it to me. He has never once told me how he's going to get it to me. He's never offered to have a discussion of how he's going to get it to me. I said, Kyle, that's fine. Let's figure out how you're going to get it to me. I thought he was going to bring it to me in October when we have this meeting in October. He can bring cash to me. Okay. But he has never asked me about he says, I've told him, he said, how do you want it? I said, well, let's discuss it. I said, fine. We'll have a discussion on it. That discussion never happened.
And by the way, in order for that discussion to happen, I can actually vouch for Steve. Steve has been asking for weeks to see the financial. And now for months actually. So here's the thing. No matter how you slice it, Kyle is the one that dropped the ball here.
Yeah,
I hate to say this so bluntly, but in this situation, Kyle is the bad guy here.
Yeah, this isn't about money. This is about not handling things properly.
It's about money. It's not about promises.
Yeah. And also the fact that
Go figure. So, the Exhibit F of Steve admits he didn't want money because he was on Social Security, wanted Kyle to pay him cash, so he wanted to hide the money, is not even close to what was actually said. What was actually said was an incredibly loaded question from Shannon, which Steve responded with, I was trying to discuss how I would be paid and needing the financials, and he wouldn't give me the financial documents. I cannot be paid without knowing how much has been made. Wow, if I don't show you the books, you won't know how much money I owe you, so I can pay you whatever I want. back to our current lawsuit with Without a Crystal Balls. Again, if you guys are interested, I did a whole thing. Like, I went from I did the Death of the Non Sequitur show, which is this one. And if you want to see this video itself, you can go ahead and take a look at that here. I don't know if I did a dive on this one. I can't remember. I might have. I think I might have said earlier that I did, and I think I linked it, but whatever. Anyway. Back to this. Back to business. Defendant. This was 25, by the way. Defendant's statement was a continuation of her defamatory statements accusing plaintiff of fraud and or tax evasion and implication that plaintiff had engaged in criminal conduct. On January 23rd, 2020, defendant tweeted, quote, anyone still subscribed to the Non Sequitur show should probably unsubscribe because Steve apparently gets it back and he doesn't deserve a platform with 20K plus subs to use to harass and target people like me. A screenshot of defamatory statement is attached here too as Exhibit E. Shall we take a look at Exhibit E? Oh, look at that. She did say it. January 23rd, 2020. We did take a 45-minute detour, but I think it's important if people actually want to know whether or not with what's being said in Steve's thing is true. On information and belief, on February 4th, 2020, defendant published the following statement, quote, Kyle paid taxes and Steve wanted him to hold cash with no tax liability. A screenshot of the defamatory statement is attached here too as Exhibit F. Kyle paid taxes and Steve wanted him to hold cash with no tax liability. Nice. Defendant's statements continue to imply to the public that plaintiff was engaged in tax evasion. On May 29th, 2020, defendant filed a harassment restraining order, HRO, against plaintiff. On June 1st, 2020, an ex parte order granting petition for harassment restraining order was issued. On or about, for anybody who wants to know a little bit more about the harassment restraining order, I covered that over here. Let me find that. There we go. This one. Whoop, mute that. There we go. Share this. Here you go. If you guys are interested in the affidavit that was submitted by Katie Joy Paulson, as well as the NDA agreement that they signed, full thing in that link right there. I will be adding these links in the description below for anybody watching later. You don't have to necessarily go and dig through the chat to find them. On May 29th, 2020, defendant filed for a harassment restraining order, HRO, against plaintiff. On June 1st, 2020, an ex parte order granting petition for harassment restraining order was issued. For those of you who don't know, ex parte order means without the person defending themselves. This is just an automatic that goes through. On or about June 2nd, 2020, defendant claimed in a video posted to Instagram that the court added a stipulation under the Violence Against Women Act, VAWA, sua sponte, because defendant had tons of evidence, which is why we read through the affidavit, regarding plaintiff's conduct. On August 8th, 2020, defendant again stated the court ordered the VAWA provision on their own. For anybody who doesn't know anything about the VAWA, I've gone over it before, but really briefly, the VAWA is the Violence Against Women's Act, which is expired, was expired, if I'm not mistaken, in 2019, as well as it is for people in domestic violence and relational violence situations. So it would not apply to Steve and KJ. Justin Franks also says, sua sponte equaling voluntarily. Yes, thank you. Defendant maliciously made numerous false statements about plaintiff and the VAWA to label plaintiff as an abuser of women and cause third parties to falsely believe plaintiff was an abuser of women. On June 22nd, 2020, the parties came to an agreement wherein the HRO was dismissed and the parties entered in a 1-year confidentiality agreement. On July 17th, 2020, during a publicly broadcast YouTube live stream, defendant stated plaintiff had threatened her by email to obtain an apology. On or about July 17th, 2020, defendant also stated plaintiff harassed an individual named Nat or Natalie, including sending graphic images and death threats. On July 17th, 2021, defendant claimed to have observed screenshots substantiating her claim regarding plaintiff's alleged harassment of Nat or Natalie, and that it was verifiably plaintiff. Moreover, defendant claimed that plaintiff has a cult of women he's preyed on and was one of the most vile, dangerous people she has ever been around. On July 18th, 2021, defendant tweeted, "LOL, Steve, we don't manufacture fake evidence like you. I just dumped a mountain of screenshots showing Tina's involvement. Love your word mincing. You know the conversation with Nat happened on Instagram, where she claims you threatened her to stay silent." End quote. A screenshot of the defamatory statement is attached hereinto as Exhibit G. Oh, sorry, 2021. My mistake. Thank you. So, continuing. On July 18th, 2021, defendant tweeted, "Fuck any of you for doubting my story because you believed my abuser's narrative. Fuck him. I am one of many women he's done this to, and you will be next if you don't comply. He's dangerous in my experience." A copy of the screenshot of defamatory statement is attached hereinto as Exhibit H. Stalked and abused someone like him. Don't tell me how to act. Fuck y'all. Blame him instead. Fuck any of you that say I can't fucking say he sexually harassed me. He did. He's a fucking narcissist prick abuser and has done this to multiple creators. I only ever apologized to him because he threatened me. My restraining order was granted because he literally harassed me over these claims and threatened me. He said, "If you do not retract it, I'm going to destroy you. Look at what he's done. Now his cult is attacking Charlotte and WOACB. They go after anyone that speaks truth," and then it's cut off. On July 18th, 2021, defendant published the following statements in her tweet reference above. Oh, hey, a clear version. Thanks. "I'm done with people saying I'm unhinged for sharing my truth." That's not why you're unhinged. Or why people say that, I should say, specifically. Why people think you're unhinged. Correct myself real quick. I'm gonna get sued next. For 2 years, a narcissistic psychopath has literally stalked, harassed, and destroyed my peace. Until you have been stalked and abused by someone like him. Hello, girls! Sorry, I was looking at some Powerpuff Girls garbage recently, and him is definitely a character. Don't tell me how to act. Fuck y'all, blame him instead. Fuck any of you that say I can't fucking say he sexually harassed me. He did. He's a fucking narcissist prick abuser and has done this to multiple creators. I only ever apologized to him because he threatened me. My restraining order was granted because he literally harassed me over these claims and threatened me. He said, "If you do not retract it, I'm going to destroy you. Look at what he's done. Now his cult is attacking Charlotte and WOACB. They go after any..." I only tertiarily even know who these two are. I've heard their names, but I don't know anything about them. They go after anyone that speaks the truth. Don't ever be fucking silenced by abusers. Then they win. I will not bow to him, and if it takes him going to jail, I'll do everything in my power to send his ass there. Women support women, period. Everyone else can kiss my fucking ass. Yo, she sounds mad. I'm not gonna lie. Goddamn. Jeez. Woo. Inkboy says, "That sounds like she was stalked by Kyle." Hey, do you guys remember when her friend Kyle was sending money and flowers to his ex-boyfriend that wanted nothing to do with him that he abused? You guys remember that? We did an interview with that guy over on Steve's channel if you guys want to go check that out. Ben? We love Ben. On July 18th, 2021, defendant tweeted, quote, "My biggest regret of my life is ever agreeing to be part of anything associated with Steve McRae." I mean, it's probably the same for Kyle, to be honest. "I never picked a Non Sequitur show because of him. I never liked him, and when I told him that, he went on a 2-year revenge harassment campaign. His cult's narcissistic abuse of me has given me PTSD. Whoo! A screenshot of the defamatory statement is attached hereinto as Exhibit I. On July 19th, 2021, defendant tweeted in a relevant part, quote, "In my opinion, he and his trolls are some of the most dangerous on YouTube. They harass, stalk, and attempt to ruin the lives of their targets. They seek revenge and have no boundaries that they will not cross to hurt me. Plaintiff is abusive and he's tormented my family for 2 years." A screenshot of the defamatory statement attached herein as Exhibit J. Nope. Yeah, in my opinion, he and his trolls are some of the most dangerous on YouTube. They harass, stalk, and attempt to ruin the lives of their targets. And, you know, it's interesting that in the last stream I just did for Dumbfuck Friday, we actually had somebody admitting in the side chat that their whole shtick was to try to ruin Steve's life. Like, admitted that that was their goal. Like, that's what they were doing. That's in the live chat of the Friday's video. If you guys are, you can go check out Friday's video. It was actually a pretty good video, in my opinion. The comment section is fire. They seek revenge and have no boundaries that they will not cross to hurt me. All I have ever wanted is for him to leave me alone. I don't want to fight with him. I don't want to. I thought you said you were gonna send him to jail. Okay. I don't want to ever see his face again. I don't want to ever be in a live stream or chat with him. He is abusive and he's tormented my family for 2 years. I feel lost. So it started like with an opinion here, and then after this it's all claims. Like, this part is the my opinion part, and then it starts going into just, I'm making these accusations. I feel lost and scared. I don't know how to move forward because now his abuse is ramping up again. On July 19th, 2021, defendant tweeted in relevant part, quote, "Keep lying. No one knows more about manipulation than you. Tell them how your lawyer fired you for being such a jackwagon and narcissistic. The lawyers were like shaking their heads. None of them had ever worked with a narcissist like him." One said, quote, "He's the worst malignant narcissist I've ever seen in my career," end quote. The screenshots of the defamatory statements are attached here as exhibits K to L. So wait, why would Steve's lawyer, who's supposed to be working for Steve, tell Katie that Steve is the worst malignant narcissist he's ever seen in his career? Or her career? Because that would be incredible malpractice. Let's take a look. LOL, the NDA was wasn't to protect my image. You idiot. I mean, look at the video that I did. Look at this video here showing the affidavit and the NDA, and you come to your own conclusion about whether or not that's true. Also, we didn't dismiss it because a judge wouldn't extend it. Keep lying. No one knows more about manipulation than you. Tell them how your lawyer fired you for being such a jackwagon and narcissist. Retweeting menace. The lawyers were like shaking their heads. None of them had ever worked with a narcissist like him. No one, one said, quote, "He's the worst malignant narcissist I've ever seen in my career." I never lied when I said... Here we go. On July 21st, 2021, defendant tweeted, "I have never lied when I said I'm a malignant narcissist, and his flying monkeys tried to frame me for horrific crimes by inserting themselves into my lawsuit. Now you have seen the proof. This is a cult, and they are all dangerous, especially the ones threatening to kill me repeatedly." Screenshot of the defamatory statement is attached here in as Exhibit M. Da-da-da! On July 25th, 2021, defendant republished defamatory allegations by tweeting, quote, according to the Natalie Kennett's mom, she claims Steve McRae messaged Nat in February on Instagram. She alleged that he sent graphic images and warned her to do what Little Miss Noble said. Tracy alleged they reported it to the police at the time. This is what Natalie stated last week. A copy of the screenshot of the defamatory statement is attached hereinto as Exhibit N. Plaintiff has never sent Nat or Natalie any messages nor spoken to this individual. The baseless accusations significantly damage plaintiff's reputation within the YouTube community and the broader community. Guests of plaintiff's YouTube channel have canceled their appearances with him based upon defendant's false and defamatory statements. Due to defendant's false and defamatory statements, plaintiffs have lost views and Patreons, which has caused a decrease in plaintiff's income. The plaintiff's reputation has suffered as a result of the defendant's false and malicious defamation. This will be interesting to see if Steve can prove that, because I don't think that's in the exhibits. Of course, it wouldn't be in these exhibits. That would be stuff that comes out in discovery, by the way. So if you're wondering why it's not in here, it's because this is just the initial complaint. Anything like that would be in during the discovery phase, would show up as needed. Plaintiff has suffered damages per defamation per se, because again, he's going for defamation per se, in which he does not have to show these damages, but he's saying them anyway. But he wouldn't have to show them right out the gate. And thus does not need to prove malice, but believes there is malice directed towards him by the defendant. What do you guys think? Do you think that Katie Joy is malicious and specifically towards Steve? One in the chat if yes. One in the chat if you think that Katie Joy's behavior is malicious towards Steve. 2 in the chat if you think it's not malicious. 1 in the chat for malicious. 2 in the chat for not malicious. 1 in the chat for malicious. 2 in the chat for not malicious. Defendant's statements are false, defamatory, and are not protected as an opinion under the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. Defendant's statements are false and malicious and were made with the intent to inflict vicious, deliberate, and calculated assault on the plaintiff's character. Ooh, 1s. That's a lot of 1s. All right, next question. I'm going to go with 3 and 4. Since we're on 1 and 2 already. That's a lot of 1s. Oof. I'm gonna get crushed under all these 1s. Alright. Defendant's statements are false and malicious and were made with the intent to inflict vicious, deliberate, and calculated assault on plaintiff's character. Alright. 3 in the chat if you think that that's true. Do you think that Katie's behavior is malicious and were made with the intent to inflict vicious, deliberate, and calculated assault on Steve's character? 4 in the chat if not. So 3 in the chat if you think that that's true. 4 in the chat if you think that that's not true. So the statements were Katie's statements were false and malicious and were made with the intent to inflict vicious, deliberate, and calculated assault on the plaintiff's character. 3 for yes, 4 for no. Oof. On plaintiff's character, honor, and reputation, and to cause the plaintiff harm to his business, trade, profession, office, or calling. Defendant's false and defamatory statements have injured the plaintiff's personal, profession, reputation in the community. All right, 5 and 6. Do you think that Katie Joy has negatively affected Steve in his reputation within the communities? 5 or 6. 5 for yes. 6 for no. Do you think yes, Katie's has affected Steve? 6. no, she has not affected Steve in this way. Defendant's statements were also made with actual malice because it was made with the knowledge the statements were false or with reckless disregard for the truth or falsity of the statements. Defendant acted with actual malice in making her false statements about the plaintiff in retaliation against the plaintiff for questioning the accuracy of defendant's statements and publications on social media. Last question for now. 7 or 8? Do you think Katie Joy acted with malice in retaliation against Steve for questioning the accuracy and questioning Katie and giving criticism of Katie, her publications on social media? 7 for yes, 8 for no. 7 for yes, 8 for no. Could someone build a reputation so terrible that it's actually a legal defense that if you believe their statements, you're dumb as fuck? You could. I think you could. I think you absolutely could do that. There was a lawsuit that happened. I think it was Taylor Swift won a lawsuit. I think it was against Shane Dawson, and she won the lawsuit when it came to fair use about him using her music because she argued successfully that his music wasn't a parody because it wasn't funny. So if you can win a lawsuit like that, this is what I heard. I didn't read this lawsuit, but if you can win like that with that kind of argument, I think you could absolutely. Count 1. Defamation per se. Plaintiff restates and realleges that preceding paragraphs of the complaint as if fully set forth herein, and further states and alleges as follows. The aforementioned statements constitute factual statements about the plaintiff in regard to plaintiff's operation of his YouTube channels and social media accounts because plaintiff is self-employed as a content creator and derives his income therefrom. Plaintiff's role was that of an occupation and profession. The aforementioned statements also include false accusations of the plaintiff committing crimes. The aforementioned statements about, among and other things, plaintiff allegedly unlawful, fraudulent, harassing, and abusive actions constitute publication of false and defaming information. Defendant has shown that their attacks on plaintiff were malicious and false. Defendant made statements contained in aforementioned social media posts and publicly broadcast live streams throughout June 2020 through July 2021 regarding fraudulent, harassing, and abusive conduct. These statements were false and were meant to cause anxiety in plaintiff. The aforesaid false statements by defendant caused harm to the plaintiff's reputation in the community. The aforesaid false statements by defendant have caused and are continuing to cause irreparable harm to the plaintiff by lowering his reputation in the eyes of third parties, including but not limited to fellow social media content creators, social media users, potential guests, patrons, and viewers. As a result of the aforesaid false statements by defendant, the plaintiff has been damaged, including harm to his reputation. As a result of the aforesaid false statements, the plaintiff has suffered damages in an amount to be proven at trial, but reasonably believed to exceed $50,000. By the reason of the foregoing, the plaintiff is entitled to judgment against defendant in an amount to be proven at trial, but reasonably believed to exceed $50,000, and an injunction ordering directing defendant to cease and desist from making defamatory statements about plaintiff. Count 2, defamation. Plaintiff restates and alleges the preceding paragraphs of the complaint as if fully set forth herein, and further states and alleges as follows. Defendant's false and defamatory statements were made maliciously without any sort of good faith belief that the plaintiff acted in a manner outlined in the statements. If such a good faith belief existed, a reasonable person would not have communicated defamatory statements as defendant has done. Defendant maliciously published social media posts and statements they knew to be false. Knew plaintiff did not engage in the conduct alleged, and knew the circulation of social media posts and statements would cause plaintiff harm in the community. Defendant, in the aforementioned social media posts and publicly broadcast live streams throughout June 2020 through July 2021, slandered plaintiff's character and published these statements in the community, thereby harming plaintiff's reputation. So for anybody who's actually curious about whether or not, if there was anybody on the fence about whether or not Katie Joy making these statements about Steve has been problematic about, like, with people in the community and people who would then refuse to be guests or view Steve in a negative light. A really good example is Dr. Misha Griffith. I talked about her, on Friday. She's in the pinned comment if you want to see what's going on there. But her falling out with Steve started when she thought what Katie was saying was true about Steve talking about Katie's kid. Steve wasn't talking about Katie's kid. And her statements of things like Steve abused my son has pushed somebody like Dr. Misha Griffith over to in a position where she can't even have a conversation. She can't even understand what's gone on. And if you're not sure if that's true or not, if you want to know, you can go check the comment section of Friday's video. So she's the evidence right there about whether or not this is accurate. Now, it may be people you don't want around anyway, but hey, that'll be on a case-by-case basis. The aforesaid false statements by defendants were communicated with actual malice, as defendant knew the statements were false or made the statement with reckless disregard for the truth. As a result of the aforesaid false statements, the plaintiff has suffered damages in an amount to be proven at trial but reasonably believed to exceed $50,000. By the reason of the foregoing, the plaintiff is entitled to judgment against defendant in an amount to be proven at trial but reasonably believed to exceed $50,000, and an injunction ordering and directing defendant to cease and desist from making defamatory statements about the plaintiff. Conjunction 3, injunctive relief. Plaintiff restates and realleges the preceding paragraphs of the complaint as if set forth herein, and further states and alleges as follows. The plaintiff will suffer great and irreparable injury if defendant continues to disseminate false and defamatory statements about plaintiff. Plaintiff's legal remedy is not adequate to protect against post-judgment irreparable harm. An injunction is necessary to prevent irreparable harm. Pursuant to the equitable powers of this court, plaintiff requests that the court issue a mandatory and permanent injunction enjoining defendant from continuing to make false and defamatory statements about the plaintiff at any time now or in the future. So basically, if Steve's lawyer and Steve are asking that Katie shut the fuck up about him forever because nothing else will work, is their reasoning. Prayer for relief. Wherefore, plaintiff Stephen H. McRae requests judgment of the above court as follows. On count 1 to 2 for damages and money judgment in an amount yet to be determined, but at least $50,000. On count 3, entry of permanent injunction enjoining defendant from making false and defamatory statements about plaintiff and directing defendant to cease and desist in all defamation and harassment of plaintiff. Plaintiff's reasonable attorney fees and costs and disbursements incurred herein, so lawyer fees, and for such other and further relief in favor of plaintiff as the court may deem just and equitable. Dated August 16th, 2021. Acknowledgement. The undersigned does hereby acknowledge that cost, disbursement, and reasonable attorney and witness fees may be awarded pursuant to Minnesota statute paragraph 549.211, subsection 2, to the parties against whom the allegations in this pleading are asserted, dated August 16th, 2021. And there you go. That's it. There's the screenshots all the way through. There's them spicy receipts. That's the tea of what the hell has gone on. We're sipping that without our crystal balls, my guys, my peeps, the beans and weens and other out there. What do you guys think? What do you think? You guys think Steve has a case? Do you think, with all the information that was actually in this, including the video that we actually took the time to look to see what was actually said? We didn't even actually look to see if whether or not KJ said that, because she certainly did. We saw that bit, but we went to go see if what she said was even accurate. Wow, imagine going to the direct source. Who'da thunk? But there's certainly a lot to go through. There's certainly more, and there's certainly going to be more that you can look at in the meantime while we wait for the discovery. I'm not your buddy, guy. I'm not your guy, friend. If you want to help support Steve in his lawsuit, there is a GoFundMe. It will be linked in the description below as soon as it's available again, because surprise, surprise, it keeps getting flagged and taken down and then assessed to be perfectly fine by GoFundMe and then back up again. So if it doesn't work for you right away, give it a day or two. It'll be back up. But the link will be in the description. If the link needs to be updated, it will be updated as necessary. So if you would like to see this case succeed, and Steve to not have to suffer anymore at the hands of Katie Joy, and potentially lots of people to not have to suffer anymore at the hands of Katie Joy, allegedly, feel free to go and donate to that. I recommend checking out some of these other videos, by the way. If you're interested, again, I've done coverage of them also. So hit that like, subscribe. Thank you for becoming a member. Thank you for super chatting. Thank you for becoming a Patreon of mine. If you have seen fit, I appreciate it. I appreciate the support, because reading all this is a really big fucking slog. Go check out Truth Sleuth's video on it if you want a summary. It's a fantastic summary. And yeah. That's about everything. Let me know what you know, what you think, and what you know in the comments down below. I really do want to hear what you guys have to say, and depending on what you guys do have to say and what you guys think, I will maybe potentially do a video, maybe answering questions about the comment section. Maybe I can get Steve on to answer some of the questions for you. That'll be great. I hope everybody has a good rest of their weekend. De-stress yourself. Enjoy the last of your tea or your alcoholic beverage and your snacks, and maybe hit the hay early because it's going to be Monday soon. I hope you guys all have a good time. And I'll talk to you next time. Oh, non sequitur show update. Before I get out of here. The next hearing is on the 9th and is currently the 7th. So the next hearing is on Tuesday. So we will see you guys probably soon to find out what the hell has gone on with the non sequitur showcase. Hey, see you guys next time. Bye.